Hi, my name's Brooke. I'm one of the LeGassick Master Jewellers. So we're welcoming you into the workshop today to show you a bit of what I'm doing and answer some questions that you guys have sent in, which is really good. So today I'm working on a fitted wedding ring, which is not the straightforward wedding ring that most people sort of see that just sort of bends around. It's got some marquee diamonds, which are the ones that have the points on the top and the bottom, and some rounds in there as well, which is really good. The engagement ring, I'm not sure if this will help you, if you can see that, but so I've got to fit it around there, which is takes a bit of time to do, so you probably won't see a whole lot of it today, but hopefully I can show you a little bit. I've got a bit of before and afters, and we might maybe post some photos or something like that at some point in the future, but yeah, so I'll just be working away and see what we can answer and show you as we go. Yes, absolutely. We can, when we see the piece, we can have a look at everything and modernize everything a little bit, but best of all, we actually customize to the client and what they're after. So when we sit down together, we'd go through pictures if you have any. If not, we would just have a conversation and have a chat about what it is you'd like to change or what you'd like to add, and then we design around that and then go forward from there. Any chemicals really you should be a little bit careful of with jewellery. With hand sanitizer in particular, or perfumes even, I'd say just be a little bit cautious with organic materials, so corals, amber, pearls, as they would be affected a lot quicker than say a diamond would. In terms of the metal, it may not be something that you'd see instantly that would be an issue, and it may not cause an issue at all, but it is possible when chemicals are added to a piece that in the long term, which might be 20 years from now, that's when you start to see a problem occur, but you wouldn't see it in the short term. For something really simple, so say a plain wedding ring, dependent on thicknesses and profiles and things like that, I'd say an hour, as long as there aren't any interruptions or anything, that should be pretty well okay. But there are other pieces that, well, they might be little, there might be a lot more detail, so they can take quite a long time. For example, the piece that I'm working on, I've been working on it all day, and this is the only thing I've worked on today, and I've only got 3 settings done that are all joined together, but they've been fitting into another ring, so I had to do the fit first, which took probably an hour and a bit to do the both sides, and then a few hours to plot where the stones are going to go and then carve them out. So it's not a big piece, but it's complex. This is a little bit in the eye of the beholder. We can do a princess cut channel, would be really complementary to a princess cut, say solitaire for example, or a solitaire or a princess cut trilogy, or alternatively you can have your designs that are a little bit more out there. I did one recently that was it had a baguette in the middle, pairs either side, and then rounds, so it was a really fancy fitted weather, and it looked really good. It does change a little bit over time. At the moment, which has probably been consistent for a few years now, is pastel pink sapphire being my favourite stone, and I like odd kind of shapes. oval as my favourites, which is also why the pink works, being a coloured stone. They look really good, I think. Now I am cutting out the inside of a setting, so we wouldn't probably be able to zoom in on this, but essentially I started with just a block of gold, just like that, and then I've plotted a little map on where approximately I need to file to go in and where the marquee needs to be, because it needs to be centralized to the center of the morganite that we have here. So at the moment I've already done a few of those steps, so now I've marked out where my marquee is going to go, and so now I'm cutting out the inside or the seat of the stone and then work my way from the inside out, essentially. The tools that we use every day are pretty much anything on the bench. The polishing motor and the sonic are definitely the most used tools. My favourite tools are the ones that are modified mostly. So I've got one here, which I'm not sure if you'd be able to see, but it's got a pointed tip. So it wasn't like that before, and it's got a little handle that comes up and it really tightly grips things, which is really good for chain soldering or holding very fine settings, or even claws. It can get really, really close. And I've got another one down here that just has a little bar taken out of it, so that when I have to bend wire, it's nice and smooth. So yeah, they're my favourites. I like mostly that chance to sit down with the client, so because we get to learn so many intimate details about our individual clients. Everyone has an individual story. Quite often, especially with a remodel, like with the question we had earlier, with whether we can customise jewellery or modernise a piece, there's usually a history. So it's been passed down from mum or grandma. Sometimes it's a story where it's come from a war and it's made it all the way over, or they were holidaying in Hong Kong and bought it at a fair, or things like that, or just simply it was mum's engagement ring and then now her daughter's getting engaged and they want to keep it as a family heirloom. So that's my favourite. They all have positives. So platinum, for example, if you're a tradie and you don't want to take your ring off during the day, but you're using a lot of heavy tools and you tend to really beat your rings up a little bit, I'd say platinum's probably best in that instance, as it's such a dense, hard material. As long as the ring is made well and it's nice and thick, it'll last a whole lot longer. In saying that, 18 karat white, which would be your next hardest, it's also a lot more flexible material as well to work with. But yeah, they're both really, really good, but platinum's definitely more dense, so that's why the tradies, it would probably be really good. 18 karat's very good for engagement rings. It's nice and flexible with the malleability of the metal, which is really, really great to work with, and it shines up really, really well. It's nice and quick with the clean and polishes and things like that, which is really good. If it's just a stock piece, usually it's the stone. So we're lucky in a sense where we sometimes get to select the stones. So we have, say, I don't know, maybe 10 to choose from, a variety of different shapes, colours, sizes. But usually out of those 10, there's only one that sort of speaks to you. So I sort of get inspiration from the magic of that. Or alternatively, if we're working with a client, quite often I draw inspiration from who they are and what their story is and what they like and things like that. So I had a couple that were just wanting wedding rings, and his was just a plain, I think it was platinum from memory, just a plain band, that's all he really wanted. But it was actually the second meeting where they came in to see her ring that she showed me a mandala that she drew on his surfboard. And the reason behind it was so that when he's out surfing, he always has a piece of her with him. And I loved it. And so I was like, oh, we've got to add this in to his ring so that that same sentiment can always be with him. And yeah, and they loved it, and they got it engraved, and it looked really, really good. Oh, there's a lot. The one with the mandala definitely stands out, again because of the story. But there was, when I first got to LeGassick, there was this woman who had her mum's piece, and it was a really antique ring, and it had a lot of wear and tear on the outside, so we had to remake it all from scratch. The shank, which is the band that goes around the back, that was really, really worn down, and the top was worn and there was a stone missing. So we spoke to her about it, and we said, look, it really does need to be remade, and she was really nervous and really scared to leave it with us. So it almost made it more challenging for me to get it 100%, and I nailed it. I couldn't fault anything I'd done. I was really, really happy with the product I gave, and her reaction to everything, and her reaction when she got it as well, like, it's just something I haven't forgotten about. So that'd be the one that would stick out for me. A typical day is, if I be a bit cheeky, is I actually make a tea first thing in the morning, and then I drink my tea as I sift through the jobs for the day. So if I'm working with another jeweller, usually it's just my box that I go through, and I see what makes I need to work on that day, and when their due dates are, when they need to go to setting, and just organise in that regard. If Erin, the other jeweler's not here, usually I have a look through the jobs in and make sure all the repairs are in order. Do I need to do any of those? I check the diary, see if I need to sit down with clients in that day, and if I do, then I need to work out my schedule around that person. And then I just work in here, talk to clients, give advice on their jewellery, if they need repairs or a remake or anything like that. And yeah, just sit here, look at my peg and work away. Yes, it can actually. It's a bit of a myth that they can't. They're probably more what I'd term scratch resistant, as it's only really a diamond that can scratch a diamond. But in terms of them breaking, they can. So in their crystal structure, I think from memory it's 4 cleavage planes. Don't quote me on that, I could be wrong. But if your ring is hit hard enough, with enough pressure and the right velocity at the right angle, you can actually sort of shave a piece off, because if you happen to hit one of those cleavage planes, it can actually cause a crack to just sort of flow right through where that plane of weakness is. I would say, if it's brand new, I would say you don't need to get it necessarily checked overly often. I like to say maybe twice a year, like once every 6 months. If it's a repair where there's a lot happening, a lot going on, and maybe we need to do a lot more maintenance, then I'd just advise the customer and just let them know, hey, I want to see this in 2 weeks or in a month, or things like that. But generally speaking, probably twice a year max should be okay. So I think hopefully I answered all the questions that came in, and not that I got to really work on much of this today, but yeah, hopefully everything's all answered. If you've got any more questions, I'm sure at the next live we can answer those as well. So see you guys next time.